Hey y'all, I'm Angie and I love to travel light. I use this 20-liter bag to travel 7 weeks around Europe. I hit 6 different countries, but I had to compete with dueling climates. What I mean, I had wintertime temperatures in Iceland and very hot summer temperatures in Italy. In this video, I'm going to walk you through everything I packed, how I packed my bag, what worked, and what didn't. So first things up, you're probably wondering why I use such a little bag. Well, why not? So I used this bag previously for a 3-week trip through Europe, and I figured if I could make it work for that, why not try to step it up a notch and see if I can incorporate having clothes for both wintertime and summertime. So the countries that I hit Iceland, and when I arrived, the temperatures were below freezing. Then I went to Belgium, the Netherlands, Italy, Slovenia, and finally ending in Malta. And I know it could have been easier to size up to my infamous yellow bag, but again, I wanted to stay within the strict guidelines for EasyJet and Ryanair and budget airlines like that. Like they really have strict limitations, and some of them even have weight guidelines. So I figured best to stay small so I wouldn't need to pay extra for my already small baggage. So y'all, I did learn some lessons from my previous trip. I learned some lessons the hard way. I even gained some knowledge from you all in the comments. So for example, I had a airplane pillow that I brought with me and it was foam, right? This time I didn't bring that. One, it was cumbersome, it was heavy, and I just didn't always like it affixed to the outside of my bag. I wanted something a little bit different. So this time I brought an inflatable pillow. Also from the last trip, I got rained on heavily in Copenhagen, and this backpack isn't quite waterproof. It is water resistant, but for the amount of rain that I was dealing with and that I expected to deal with, I knew I needed another solution. So this time I packed a rain cover. Also, some trade-offs that I made from my last trip. Though they did save me weight, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. So last trip I used scissors for any below the belt grooming, but I decided it was too difficult. So I went back to carrying my bushwhacker, which means that I had to make some trade-offs for weight. And then lastly, y'all, my travel day outfit. Again, on that last trip, because I acquired more items, I had to wear my dress back. And so this time I incorporated my dress into my travel day outfit. And I took some of your suggestions regarding what I should wear underneath it. So since I'm talking about the travel day outfit, if you're new here, understand, travel day outfit makes all the difference in the world when you're trying to travel light and pack light. What you wear makes a difference. So you want to make sure you're wearing your bulkiest things that take up the most space in your bag. So for me, it was my maxi dress. And I needed some storage. Like if I wear a dress, the trade-off is I don't have any pockets. But I always love to wear my trekking pants. So y'all, I just put my trekking pants underneath. Did I look a hot mess? Maybe, but I was still on the flight and that's all that mattered. So I was able to have additional storage in my pockets, and with my trekking pants, I have 5 different pockets, and it's essentially like a purse to me. All the things that I need very close to me, like my headphones, charging cables, charging block, they stay in my pocket along with my phone and my passport. So something connected to the travel day outfit were my jackets. For this trip, I brought 3 jackets. Yes, you heard right. I have a rain jacket or a waterproof outer shell. I had a puffer jacket, and then I had a quarter zip pullover hoodie, but it doesn't really have a hood. But you know what I'm saying. Anyway, I needed to carry those things. The rain jacket, that was pretty simple. I can throw that in the pocket. Because I had the dress on, it made it challenging to make myself look presentable with the jackets that I had to carry. So a technique that I use for carrying both jackets is I just tuck one jacket inside of the other. So I pulled the sleeves of my pullover hoodie through my puffer jacket, and then I ran my carabiner through both of the little loops on the back, and I just clipped them to the outside of my bag. And it worked for me. That way my hands were free, didn't have anything tied around my waist. And yeah, I felt pretty good. Something that I did different for this trip was how I went about with my liquids. For the last trip, I feel like I brought the majority of the liquids with me. Everything I needed was in my little Ziploc bag. But this time the trip was going to be longer, and so I didn't want to bring all the liquids with me. So I just brought some of the essentials and purchased some when I arrived. And that really worked out well, and it saved me some space and some weight. For my non-liquid toiletries, I put them inside my medicine cabinet, and it was just that. It held the majority of my medicines. It held my trimmer or my bushwhacker, my razor blades, some tweezers, first aid things like Band-Aids. I just keep them zipped up in this little pouch that I call my medicine cabinet. So now I'm going to unpack the bag so you can see that everything did indeed fit inside the bag. As you can see, I had a fair amount of stuff. And to be honest, I had it mostly right. I did get some things wrong. So for instance, I forgot to pack my buff for this trip, and that annoyed me because I had to go buy another one because Iceland was no joke. When I first arrived there, it was below zero or below freezing temperatures. The snow was like whipping me in the face. And yeah, I'm like, I need to keep myself covered. So I got myself another buff or neck gaiter or whatever to protect my face. Additionally, and I struggled with this the last time, I hem-hawed over bringing a towel or not. And on my last trip in Europe, I ended up having to purchase a towel when I went to the floating saunas. And I decided at the last minute not to bring it with me. That was a mistake. I should have brought it. So what ended up happening, I was at Aldi or Lidl, one of the two, and I ended up buying a 3-pack of microfiber towels. Actually, those were pretty excellent. So I cannot complain about those. Next mistake I made. I love using coconut oil. I love using it for my hair. It's like one of those all around things. Like I can use it for my hair. I can use it to moisturize. I can even use it on my lips. The thing about coconut oil though, like it does great in very, very cold temperatures. It stays solid, but I feel like it has a very low melting point. And by the time I went to Belgium in the Netherlands, it was melting inside of the bag that I had it in and just getting it everywhere. And I got so frustrated that I just threw it away. So note to self, not gonna bring coconut oil anymore, especially if going to warmer environments. And lastly, y'all, I packed my makeup, which is very light to begin with. It's just mascara and lip gloss. I didn't use that. And this has been several trips where I haven't used it. And I for whatever reason, I just can't seem to part with it. And I just think for my next trip, I'm not going to bring it. I don't use it. It's just taking up space, taking up weight. I don't need to bring it anymore. So things that I got right. I feel like my clothes were on point. Again, I had 2 t-shirts, 2 long sleeve shirts, 2 sets of pants that I packed. And then, my trekking pants, yada, yada. But clearly I wore everything. Even when I was in the cold environment, I thought I would have to layer up more, but not really. I ended up adjusting to the temperature very quickly. But yeah, I had the right amount of jackets, I had the right amount of pants, I felt warm, I had my hat, and I had my gloves. So for the most part, I was definitely comfortable in the cold weather environment, in Iceland specifically, because that's where it was the coldest. And then even when I got to Italy, and when I was there, it was a heat wave. So at one point when I was in Milan, it was about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Insanity. But my trusty rompers, they held me down, kept me cool. So I felt pretty good there. And let's talk about shoes. For shoes, only 2 pairs. So I brought my Teva sandals and I brought my waterproof Nike trail runners. I knew that I needed waterproof shoes when I was going to be in Iceland. While I was in Iceland, I was house sitting, and the dog that I was watching required very long walks. And the areas that he was walked were open fields that were notoriously always wet. So I'm so glad and thankful that I brought those shoes, because my feet stayed incredibly dry. If I would have packed, let's say, my Adidas Sambas, I would have been miserable because my feet would have been wet the entire time. So those waterproof shoes held up like a champ. And again, there are some trade-offs, right? They're very colorful shoes. They're a little bulky, so they don't necessarily have the casual look of some of my other shoes that I tend to bring on trips, but it's what I needed. And I got by with just those 2 pairs of shoes, because by the time I got into the warmer environments, I switched over completely to just wearing my Teva sandals every single day. And I loved it. So no complaints there. Those shoes had me covered for everything. So y'all, that is it. It was done with this little 20-liter bag. So if you like this video, if you learned something new, inspired to try to pack a little bit lighter, go ahead, give this video a thumbs up. And as always, I would love to have you here on a regular basis, so please don't be afraid to subscribe. So I release short form or long form videos usually once a week, depending on my travel schedule. I try to pump them out as soon as I can. I would love to have you back. So please, please, please subscribe. And y'all, I'll see you the next time. Thanks so much for watching.